talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. And I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King saying, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, christen your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about it.
It's about teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be, he's a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, to them,
It's
10,
never
11,
hopeless.
12-year-old kids,
It's never
Jim.
hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try it. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying, you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say that.
Give them somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid, you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people. They can get educated, they can go to school, they can learn. I'd say one thing.
30th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation and be heard nationwide, every state, every region of the country, by calling me at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to the message board at our live stream at National Action Network and read I will, many of you, as I can on the message board, and of course taking your calls on the 1-877-532-5797. In fact, Prayer Carrington says on the message board, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton and live stream audience. Do you think there's a need to be a larger shift in terms of having women in late night TV shows? There's only one, and she comes on CBS. That's interesting. I'm going to let the audience answer that. I think that's a very, very interesting point. Okay, the Ab X Girl 86 says actually the late show hosted by CBS has ended. There are no women-led late night shows. Okay. OG Kelly checking in saying good Tuesday afternoon, Nan and everyone. And the mayor, Rodney Jones, is saying, if I don't receive my VA, Veteran Affairs, compensation tomorrow, there's no one but the Republicans to blame. They have the trifecta, the SCOTUS, which is, of course, Supreme Court of the United States. No more excuses. Those that voted for this should be ashamed. And I agree with you, Rodney. Let me say this, and we got a lot to talk about today. We find that even the New York Times Siena poll has come out saying that most Americans now are opposing Donald Trump's policies to Israel. Many of you might have seen yesterday Netanyahu and Trump met, and at the conclusion of the meeting, the two of them announced their so-called peace offer to Hamas, and in the peace offer, they demanded, of course, the hostages be returned, and that there be a monitoring group over Gaza until they can work out whatever is going to be in Gaza, and that Trump would chair the group, and have the former British Prime Minister be a part of running the group. And people are turning on Trump. I'll read it to you from the New York Times. It says, in the aftermath of Hamas-led attacks on Israel on October 7, 2023, American voters broadly sympathize with Israelis over Palestinians, with 47% siding with Israel, 20% with Palestinians. In a new poll, 34% said they sided with Israel, 35% with Palestinians, 31% said they were unsure and backed both equally. So the shift in polling, a majority of Americans, I'm continuing to read this out of the New York Times, majority of American voters now oppose sending additional economic and military aid to Israel, a stunning reversal in public opinion since October 7. About 6 out of 10 voters said that Israel should end its military campaign even if the remaining Israeli hostages were not released or Hamas was not eliminated. 6 out of 10. There's such thing as going too far. And I think Netanyahu and Trump have gone too far to where they've lost the American public and it's becoming a liability to them politically. I've always said since I first went to Israel 25 years ago and met with Yasser Arafat and Palestinians, I believe in a two-state solution. It was controversial then. If you remember Andrew Young, you that are older, Andrew Young was UN ambassador. He had to resign because he met with the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who mentored me, went over and met with Arafat. Then I met with him in 2000 and in 2001. Now most of the American public is saying, leave them folk alone. Let them have their state. That's interesting. We can talk about that. The Wall Street Journal today, to my surprise, because Wall Street Journal is very conservative, owned by Rupert Murdoch, they said these tariffs are hurting American people, including and especially farmers, because of the soybean exports that they can no longer do. They're hurting their own. A lot of Trump's own voters are being hurt by these tariffs. Wall Street Journal talked about that today, how the tariffs are hurting the soybean exports in this country. And then the Cato Institute did a graph. Trump is always saying that the left-wingers are doing these political violent acts like the act on the Mormon church in Michigan over the weekend, which still, this guy had a Trump sign out in front of his house, was armed services, but Trump acted like his left wing. Cato Institute did a graph and showed that the overwhelming majority of violence, political violence, is done by right-wingers. There are some on the left wing, but not to the degree of right wing. So I think that it is absolutely and unequivocally tide beginning to turn. That's why we must stay organized and connected. And that's why, you know, I said at the march on Wall Street just 2 weeks ago, as we go in these shareholder meetings, we going to, in late October, shareholder meetings start, major corporations, we buying a lot of shares, and we'll have a lot of y'all come with us as shareholders. Because look what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. Took him off the air. Distributors, viewers, shareholders start raising sand. They put him back in 2 days. Trump's policies can be defeated if we stand up. And now this showdown to whether they're going to let the government shut down tomorrow night. Have you ever seen anything more racist than what he did yesterday? Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader of the Senate, minority leader of the House, joined the majority leader of the Senate, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, meet with President Trump and Vice President Vance. Come out, hold a press conference, say nothing was done, door was open, but we got nothing. We still will not vote for the compromise unless they take care of health care and the like. Trump posts on his social media, Truth Social Media, a picture where has an AI put a sombrero, or what do you call it? Sombrero, Mexican hat, and mustache on Hakeem, like he's a Mexican. Oh yeah, y'all can Google this up. He put it on them like they were bandits that come in the White House, and got Hakeem Jeffries dressed like a Mexican bandit, and got Schumer just standing there next to him, coming out the White House. That's what we are dealing with. That's y'all's president. Question is, what are we going to do about it? Right now, he's in the next 3 years. What are we going to do? We're going to fight. That's what we're going to do. We had worse presidents than this, and we fought. Jimmy Kimmel show you we can win. Some fights going to take longer than others, but I'd rather fight and be right than relax and just let wrong run its course. We must fight. Wayne Lyons just put on the message board, I agree, correct what the Reverend just said. We must stand up, people. If we ain't gonna stand up, nobody is coming to save us. Get that out your head. Nobody is coming to save us. The only ones that are gonna save us is us. And we need to stand up and fight back. I remember when I was in elementary school, there was a quiz by one of the teachers saying, would you rather be a dead lion or a live dog? And she gave this quiz and all the kids raised their hand. And one of the kids said, live dog. And she said, everybody agree with that? Everybody raised their hand but me. And she said, all right, everybody, Al, you didn't raise your hand. I said, I don't agree with that. He said, why? I said, because a lion might be dead, but the lion was king when he was alive. A dog won't be nothing but a dog the longest day he lived. I'd rather be a dead king than a living dog. Now, that's just me. Some of y'all might agree with my classmates. Some folk just rather live and they don't care what condition they in, what happens. They just want, as long as I'm alive. No, it's how I'm alive that I'm going to fight for. I refuse to be here and get less than anybody else, and I'm going to fight until I get it. All right, let's open up these phones, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Extremely important about the funding, but I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, it was DEI, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP would have been together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this.
Can't afford to live it. And so when I was growing up, I was political without being political, in the sense that I was very angry about things.
Right.
Because, you know, like, you just felt like things were being done to you and no one was speaking to you, your family, your neighbors about how to actually involve you in shaping the place that you lived. And I got involved in quite a few like protests and organizing. And then I had a lot of support, and people at the time said, oh, we've got primaries for election for the council. And I was like, what's a councillor? And then I put myself forward, and yeah, I had zero expectation and won, and I served 3 times as a councillor. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well,
we must host you. We must host you in Hackney when you next
I
come.
love that. I love that. Simon's trying to get me to lock down some dates now. I'm coming back.
Have you ever met the mayor of London?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. He did a television show that I was sitting in for a guy because he wasn't my show, and we met and talked. He said that he knew a lot of what we were doing over here.
Yeah.
He says he knows me.
I mean, you've inspired so many of us around. You know, like, that's the message I wanted to bring to you, which is, I know the work you do is like predominantly around sort of the US, and to give, you know, marginalized voices, you know, a sense of power and a sense of a voice. But also, you know, like, all of us in the UK and in London, we look to you to get our inspiration. And, you know, certainly for the mayor, we'd love to host you.
I will do that. I'd love to.
I mean, I think one of the things that, you know, it'd be good to, like, I guess, like, I would want this inspiration from you is, you know, you've been through, you know, you've seen it all, and you've been through much more worse than what we've seen in the UK. And as you're saying, I think all of the things that we thought we were advancing on, whether it's around gender equality, racial justice, you know, climate action, I think in the last few years, all of that is now going backwards, right? And for me, it's like one of the things that I've learned now thinking through this is, even when you're winning, you never take your foot off the pedal of the gas. And it's like, as you were saying, it's like, I'll be very keen to get your thoughts on, you know, what is the message we can take back to...
I think that if we study history, it's always one step forward, then they're going to push back. I think that part of the naivety that a lot of activists, elected or unelected, is they think that if we do this one piece of legislation or get this one thing through, that we won. No, you've had a temporary victory, but there's going to always be the forces against you. So I think you have to set in your mind very young that this is going to be a lifetime struggle, and it's never going to be over. But history should record I was on the right side, and I did everything. I did my side, because history's ongoing. The example I use here a lot to people in my organization, to the young people, and is that for 246 years we were slaves, African American. Then we got the Emancipation Proclamation. Walk off the plantation. 246 years unpaid, against the law to read and write. Don't know where your family is because we're sold to different states. Somehow they put it together, and they started building their churches and their businesses and all. And by Lincoln starting the Reconstruction, 12 years Reconstruction, put 22 people into Congress. But Lincoln gets killed. His vice president takes over, who was a racist. And they reversed all that. We went through 100 years of lynchings. by law. Couldn't vote by law, taking back everything we did. Then King comes along, advance again, then backlash again with rape. So it's always this going forward and backward. History is defined by those that will fight when the wind is in their face, not to their back. Anybody's good when the wind is to your back. Your leadership is tested when the wind is facing you in the face. Can you keep running anyhow? And that's what separates the Gandhis and the Mandelas and the Kings from history, and those that had their moment in the sun, but we never hear from again because they couldn't take with the backlash. And like right now, a few years ago, we had a lot of young activists, George Floyd, all of that. And they faded because when the attacks came back, Trump got in, I'm going to live my life. I thought this was your life. And I think that you've got to make the commitment very early that I'm in this for the long run, because this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the reward is going to be history will say you were right. And but you're going to have to go through seasons. It's that, maybe God wanted it that way. It doesn't matter what religion we practice, that there's seasons. It's summer, spring, fall, winter. And to get to the summer, you got to go through winter. And a lot of us don't want to go through the winter.
Yeah, I worry.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the National Director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to take...
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board and put on the message board a message. Ida Green is on the board saying, "This is so enlightening to have someone to speak for us. I lived around the corner from Percy Green in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. Such an inspiration to me when I didn't know what politics was. He spoke very highly of you. He said, just listen and you'll like it." Okay, well, thank you, Ida, for listening. Percy Green is a great guy. And thank you for sending your message in. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget every Saturday and Sunday, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I'm live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC, and every Saturday I try to bring you the people that are in the middle of what we're facing, governors, senators, experts. I don't have a show with my buddy sitting up there saying how smart they're going to think you make you think they are. I want people that is in it. Last Saturday, I had the mayor of New York, or Eric Adams, and the next day he pulled out the race. I challenged him that night about his deal with Trump. I had Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley from Boston on Sunday. I had the head of the Hispanic caucus in the Congress, Congressman Esbiat. These are people in the thick of deportation, in the thick of what we are facing. And, of course, in the thick of whether there's going to be a government shutdown and how it affects us. So I don't want to waste your time. Watch it every Saturday and every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, MSNBC. And I just got the ratings for last weekend, and you were there. Hundreds of thousands each night. Got a higher rating than CNN. This is about the 5th or 6th week. So you supporting the show. It keeps you informed, and it keeps us able to do the show. Also, don't forget, you in the New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday, and I'll be there this Saturday. My birthday is Friday, so I'll be there this Saturday celebrating my birthday, and we're also going to celebrate it Monday night at the Triumph Awards. But be there Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue, in the village of Harlem. And you that are not in the New York area can watch it live on Impact Television or at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. It's live stream, Saturday morning, 9 to 11 Eastern Time. Talking about the Triumph Awards, the Triumph Award is Monday night. That's our annual cultural awards, and we have some huge awardees this year, and it's free. All you got to do is call and get your ticket. There's no tickets at the door. You have to get your ticket in advance. We're honoring that night, and they will all be there to get their awards. We're honoring Babyface that night. Kenneth Babyface Edmonds will be there to be honored. Stephanie Mills will be there. And all of us know Stephanie Mills, great artist. Ari Melba, who's the host of The Beat on MSNBC. I don't know anyone that has blended politics and hip-hop better than Ari Melba. We're honoring him. We're honoring Chesley Maddox Darcy, who's kept a black-owned news network going in struggling times and kept our voice out there. We're honoring her. And we're honoring gospel great Vincent Bohannon. And he'll be there. To get your free tickets, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. And we getting ready to go to your calls. I think we're going to take our break and get ready to let our callers come in. But so let's take the break now, and we'll come right back, go to the callers and more of you on the message board. Keeping it real. Sharpton.
Sir, I had to take it so I can get back to schedule.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael Around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about his love message. As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee. Sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars. Focus on the journey. Michael beat him. Michael rose to the top. He outsang his cynics. He outdanced his doubters. He outperformed the pessimists. Every time he got knocked down, he got back up. Every time you counted him out, he came back in. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. I want to say to Mrs. Jackson and Joe Jackson, his sisters and brothers, we thank you for giving us someone that taught us love, someone that taught us hope. We want to thank you because we know it was your dream too. And we know that your heart is broken. I know you have some comfort from the letter from the President of the United States and Nelson Mandela, but this was your child. This was your brother. This was your cousin. Nothing will fill your heart's loss. But I hope the love that people are showing will make you know he didn't live in vain. And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with. But he dealt with it. He dealt with it anyway. He dealt with it for us. So some came today, Mrs. Jackson, to say goodbye to Michael. I came to say thank you. Thank you because you never stopped. Thank you because you never gave up. Thank you because you never gave out. Thank you because you tore down our divisions. Thank you because you eradicated barriers. Thank you because you gave us hope. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
You lost it.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. You that watch live stream, they played during the commercial the eulogy I gave at Michael Jackson's funeral in 2009. Hard to believe it's been that long ago that Michael Jackson, biggest pop star in history, left, and his family had me do the eulogy, and our JT Trollinger, who runs our media, put up the eulogy for some folks may not have seen it. I'm seeing a message aboard, and some of you remember it. And some of y'all, I see you, Happiness Donuts is saying, will you be wearing your Met Gala outfit at the Triumph Awards, or is it put away for the grandson? Well, don't nobody know what I'm going to wear till they show up, Happiness Donuts, so I won't spoil the what I'm going to wear on the Triumph Awards Monday night. One reason, because I don't know yet, but we'll see. I see you keep up with stuff. I got to give it to her. Let's go to the phone. Let me go to my dear friend in Chicago, Illinois, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you today?
I'm doing very well.
You know, Rev, I wasn't around yesterday, but it's just as hot today. I literally cried when I heard about the AI video Trump put out about Representative Jeffries and Senator Schumer. And after meeting with them, when he should have been meeting further, he was out playing golf on Sunday with his granddaughter.
That's right.
That is totally ridiculous. Yeah, this man is mentally unfit, and he gets away with everything so far. And he met with Netanyahu, and he was just rambling on and on and on. It didn't make any sense. And then the troops are being sent to cities, and there's no respect for governors, mayors, attorney generals, and nobody else. And he keeps talking about scandals and calling people scum. He has the worst record of anybody, 34 felonies and whatever else. And what's this guy named Holman?
Yeah, Holman.
Holman. He is a disgusting individual. And did you hear what Headset said today about FAFO? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
That was just totally disgusting what he said. And I'm glad Representative Jeffries stood up to Trump. And finally, I say, as usual, Mary Trump was on point. She didn't lead us down the wrong path. She told us that Trump was dangerous, and he certainly is. And thank you, Rev, for taking my call.
Well, thank you for your call. As always, you're on point. And I watched some of the speech. Hegseth and Trump had hundreds of the top military officers. Some had to fly as far as Taiwan to get here, fly 20 hours to have a 2-hour rally, and it's a pep rally about nothing. And this braggadocio and all of this that they were raising was absolutely unnecessary. And Trump turned it into a political pep rally and made the most blatant attacks on affirmative action and civil rights, saying in his speech, and I watched it, this is him this morning, saying that they were returning the country to a country based on merit, and that DEI and other forms, talking about affirmative action, had people getting in position in the military that were not qualified. That's why I stand in the DEI, he said, and therefore we're going to return the country to a country of merit. Country of merit. What made the country was free slave labor and discrimination. You work any group of people for 246 years and don't pay them, that ain't merit. That's slavery. That's enslavement. You didn't get that on merit. You became the children and the grandchildren of people that abused the human rights and human dignity and human freedom of people. What merit? Then you had 100 years of Jim Crow laws where you couldn't compete with blacks because you made against the law for us to go to certain schools, for us to even ride the front of a bus, couldn't even drink a water fountain down south. You call that merit? If you eliminate everybody of a certain race, you didn't win on merit. You won with a small, reduced pool of competition. But that's what he said this morning. That's who you got in the White House. All of you black men that voted for Trump, explain to me how he wipes out 246 years of slavery, wipes out 100 years of Jim Crow, and acts like we were behind because we didn't have the merit. No, we didn't have the rights. We didn't have the freedom. And as we gained it, we're not going to stop maintaining it now. We won't go back. Some of us won't go back. Ida Green saying on our message board, you are so right, slavery, modern day at that. I mean, some of us don't even know when we insulted. It's an insult to tell me you made it on merit when my great-grandfather was a slave and my grandfather and father and mother had to grow up in segregation, couldn't go to schools. And you're going to talk about you made it on merit? Let's go to Brother Greg in North Carolina. Brother Greg, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. I'm a former Army officer and a veteran, and thank you so much for what you just said about that meeting of the generals in Quantico, Virginia. You're exactly right, Reverend Al. From the Revolutionary War all the way up until present time, Afghanistan, African Americans have served, and just to serve as an enlisted person or as an Army officer, that equals merit, Reverend Al. The battlefield is an equal playing field.
Right.
Our brothers and sisters throughout history, even back to the Civil War, the 54th Massachusetts, in the movie Glory, we died on the battlefield equally. That's merit, Reverend Al. So thank you for what you said.
Thank you.
And I called in today.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I use Google to, convey information to the people. And for inspiration for the people to say thanks, I want to start with this Google. And the Google is, what is a mighty work? And I would ask each person listening to take the time to go to Google and just type in, what is a mighty work? A mighty work is a powerful, extraordinary act, most often referring to miracles or divine interventions. These acts demonstrate divine authority, power, and sovereignty, and include acts of deliverance and salvation. A mighty work demonstrates God's ability to accomplish what human beings cannot accomplish without the intervention of God Almighty. And I quote that for this reason, Reverend Al. on behalf of all black people, brothers and sisters across the nation, I say a sincere thank you to Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Dr. Abernathy, Dr. Young, and of course, Dr. King, and all of the civil rights leaders for their efforts over the years in supporting a mighty work for our people. By definition, the civil rights movement is a mighty work, Reverend Al. So if everybody calls in today, one thing we might not all the time thank our leaders like Reverend Al and Reverend Jesse Jackson for the executive suites that we got into. Like myself, I got into West Point, became an Army officer.
Oh, wow.
And when I look back, yes, sir, the foundation were the programs, were the meetings by civil rights leaders like Reverend Al, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Dr. Abernathy, Dr. King, and Dr. Young that opened those doors to Harvard, Yale, the Naval Academy, West Point, all these other places, and the executive suites and top corporations. The foundation was the work by the civil rights leaders. So sometimes we might not say thanks, Reverend Al, but I want to take time in this call to directly, on behalf of the people and myself, to say thanks for the efforts that all of you did that got us into those positions throughout this society. I also wanted to talk about that meeting with the generals, Reverend Al.
Yes.
Some of the quotes from Trump, he said that he will be meeting with all generals and admirals as he was getting on Marine One, and he said he will fire them on the spot if he does not like them. And that was a full-scale red alert, Reverend Al, and people can Google that up if they want to see the interview. And my greatest concern, could this be a purge of black generals, Hispanic generals, and female women generals from the military? Could this be the start of that? And another comment that I'd like for the people to look up on Google, in addition to that one, is Trump said American cities could be the training grounds for the military. So we see these troops in Chicago now, in LA and DC. We have a president saying that those cities could be training grounds for the military. That's very concerning. And the last Google on that point is Trump and the enemy within. And some of the statements by President Trump give the impression that President Trump sometimes sees the Democrats not as the opposition, but almost like they are the enemy. And it's very concerning. And one thing I would propose, Reverend Al, is if the civil rights leaders could have a meeting with some of the military leaders. I know you're at the top level of government or have met with, President Biden and other presidents like President Obama. If maybe the civil rights leaders could have a conference call or an in-person meeting with, General Lloyd Austin, General Wesley Clark, or General Mark Milley, or General C.Q. Brown, so that the civil rights leaders could exchange ideas with the military leaders on how we as a nation should approach this interaction of active troops in the streets with peaceful protesters. And unfortunately, Reverend Al, as a former Army officer and a person who supports civil rights, it could be only a matter of time before some of those active duty soldiers fire upon peaceful civil rights protesters. That's going to be a constitutional crisis and a national emergency for this nation. And the last thing, Reverend Al, is that government shutdown. And I remember your words, don't fall for the okie doke. And here's a Google pertaining to that I'd like to give to you and the people, and hopefully your staff could research it. And the Google is, J.D. Vance reveals plan for a government of only Trump supporters.
That's what they're aiming for. That's
Yep.
what they're aiming for, and they're saying it out loud, Brother Greg. It's not even like you got to figure it out. They're saying it. Question is, why are we so quiet and allowing them to get away with it? Thank you for your call. Let me take my break. I'll be right back. More of you on the phones. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go on live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net and put up a message. We'll be right back after this. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin is. Every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, the call-in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about that.
It's about teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we molded them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door. And he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, you know, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be, he's a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, well, to them, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, it's right. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying, you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say that.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid, you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people, but they can get educated. They can go to school. They can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today. It's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm going to tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots died for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as it land, and make it, and late at night, on a stormy day, you couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly, you can. Since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example, because before you get to education, you need motivation. If you don't have motivation to get out of the bed, you won't make school or the party. And what we try to do by showing a James Brown or Muhammad Ali is not that you can be a great champion, maybe like Ali, or a great entertainer
Keeping
like
it
James
real.
Brown. But if you use the same initiative.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to live stream at National Action Network and put up your message and watch the show live stream as we do it. And JT Challenger has been coming with the oldies today. He played on live stream the Michael Jackson eulogy I did, and then he just played in 81 or 82, James Brown, the Godfather of Soul, and Muhammad Ali brought me. I was in my mid-20s on Tom Snyder's show. First time I did a late night show and told them they ought to be supporting me. The country ought to be supporting me. With that kind of backing, I had to turn out to be something. You couldn't get bigger in American history or Black American history than James Brown and Muhammad Ali coming on together and doing that. One of the highlights of my life. And he played the whole thing to those of you that watch the live stream. The mayor Randy Jones says, Rev, the Godfather and the GOAT, greatest of all time. No doubt about it. Nobody comes close to either one of them as far as I'm concerned. All right, it's Tuesday. Don't forget, I'm working already booking the senators and people that are in the middle of whatever happens tonight with the government shutdown, whatever happened Wednesday. And I'm already booking people to deal with the fact that there are now ICE agents, military in Chicago and headed into Memphis. We're going to be dealing with all these issues. Watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC Saturday and Sunday. Don't miss it. Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice. And this Saturday, I'll be there. In fact, we celebrate my birthday this Saturday. My birthday is actually Friday. And then we'll celebrate it a little more as we celebrate the Triumph Awards Monday night at Lincoln Center. This is our big cultural awards, and we're honoring that night Kenneth Babyface Edmonds, and he'll be there to get his award. Stephanie Mills, Ari Melba, the host of The Beat, who's put this great blend of show, hip-hop and politics together on MSNBC. Chesley Maddox Dorsey, who has maintained the black ownership of our media outlet that gives us news. And Vincent Bohannon, gospel superstar. These are our 5 honorees this year. You can be there, and it's free, but you must get a ticket. How do you get a ticket, Rev Mal? I'll tell you right now. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and sign up, and they will get you the information how you can get your ticket. Or you can call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and you must get the ticket in advance. There'll be no tickets at the door. Nobody's let in without a ticket. It's free. If you're too busy to call and get a ticket, you're too busy to show up Monday night. So let us cooperate and follow the procedure. I talk about all the time. Lady coming to the door last year. I went to school with Reverend Al. Did you get your ticket? No, we ain't going backstage and ask Reverend Al, did he go to school with you? We don't do tickets at Lincoln Center. We do it in advance. So, needless to say, she did not get in. Let's go to Andre J. in Chicago, Illinois. Andre? Is Andre J. there?
Yeah, Andre J. is here from Chicago.
Okay.
Hey, Rev.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me, Rev?
I do hear you, yes.
Oh, okay. Hey, Rev, I wanted to talk about the Hakeem Jeffries. You know, this bullying that Trump is doing, he seems to file suit against everybody, but it's like nobody files suit against him. I think that what Donald Trump did and the comments he made about Chuck Schumer and him was a character assassination, a defamation of character. So I'm wondering, like, when is Hakeem Jeffries somebody going to try to file some suits against Donald Trump for his language, since Trump wants to file suits against everybody else? It seems like there should be something legally he could do about that when he's commenting. Yeah, it's good. I'm glad to see him at least respond to it and push back on it. But sometimes you got to fight Trump with, fight fire with him. Because that's wrong to get up there and talk about our black leaders like that and say these type of things and call people names and stuff and suing radio stations, but nobody sues him. They didn't even go after Donald Trump for all of that money he cost the taxpayers was down there at that Capitol on that January 6th. Nobody called him, tried to get him to pay no restitution, pay nothing for the damage he did. So it's like he gets away with everything, and people ought to push back.
I think you raise an interesting point, and couple of answers to that. One is that they would have to sue based on he defamed them personally. Otherwise, he can countersue if it's a frivolous claim. So I'm sure, have to talk to the lawyers how they would deal with that. Secondly, though, is that don't forget he's been successfully sued now. That woman, Carol, I think he owes her $63 or $83 million. They didn't reverse that. So they've gone after him. Now, he's come with this law that he got his stacked Supreme Court to say that you can't do anything to a sitting president while he's president. So that may be why some of the people in Congress and others have not sued him. I mean, he's tweeted on me. I don't know if you can sue him until he comes out of office. I need to check that.
Well, when the Supreme Court made that ruling, didn't it say anything in his official capacity?
Yeah, but he could say that's exactly right.
That got nothing to do with his job.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, but that could be argued in court. If he's saying, you started talking about Hakeem, if he's saying that I am attacking Hakeem, who is the minority leader of the House, and I'm the president because we disagree on shutdown and legislation, he could argue I'm saying that as part of my job because he's blocking my wanting to cut certain funds.
Yeah, but you got a sombrero. He put a sombrero on there, Rev.
A court would have to decide whether that is stepping outside, which is why we got to vote, because if he goes in front of a judge that he appointed, they're going to say there's nothing defamatory about that. That was a joke.
Right, I see. Okay, thank you much, Rev. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your call. Thank you. Let's go to Ray in the Buzz. Ray, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Yes, Rev. Thanks for taking my call. A couple of things, Rev. This shutdown, I hope they shut it down because it'll be on Donald Trump's watch. And he may not care, but those Republicans who's in the House, they care. So they'll take the hit. Donald Trump can't run anymore, so he's a lame duck president. But Rev, you mentioned something earlier about the king, about the lion and the dog. I'm gonna raise you one, Rev. I'm sure a lot of those slaves from Africa said, I would rather be a dead African than a live slave. How about that?
I think you're right, and a lot of them did make that choice. There's a matter of historic record that some of them just jumped in the ocean and said, I'm not going. Some of them did slave rebellions knowing that they may die, like Nat Turner. So you're exactly right.
Yeah. And then I'll say this: when I seen that sombrero on Hakeem Jeffries, but where's the Tim Scott and the Byron Donalds, black men, and their leaders tried to humiliate one of the black leaders. So, but I wouldn't put it past them, because I would say Tim Scott and Byron Donald, they would rather be a black slave than a dead black man. All right, Rev.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me go to Sky in Rich. Let me take my break. I'll come right back. Go to more of you on the phone and read more of you off the message board. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people, and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Reverend, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Sorry to hold you up.
No, not at all. I really appreciate your time. Nice to meet you too. Yes. There is a, I don't know if you will remember this, but you came to Parliament in London with Lord Woolley, Simon Woolley.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a round table.
Oh, yeah. You were in that?
I was, because before I became deputy mayor, I used to be a councilman. I was a city councilman. But I also helped found the biggest voter registration organisation in the whole of Europe.
Really?
Yeah, so last year we registered, and we worked together with Simon, 488,000 young people in just 6 weeks. So,
wow.
But I learned a lot from you.
So did they turn out?
They did. Yeah, they turned out. But my worry is given like the state of politics in the UK right now, is their expectation of what a government could deliver is up here. The reality is somewhere here, and the performance is somewhere here.
Yeah.
And now it's like the next election, I guess similar to what you experienced between 2020 and 2024. In the next election, my worry is a lot of those people who we had to convince to vote, they feel let down because they had a big appetite for change, and it hasn't really delivered in that same way. So
that's a very bad. The excitement is great, but when you start getting that coming down, some of them you lose for a long time, if not forever. And but I guess the challenge is how you excite people without over promising, and it's a problem. It's a problem all over the Western world.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's
one of the slaves.
Good to see you again, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, so that's that. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have the slaves.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life are from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went for his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. Wow. To South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And where I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about it in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But now, come on. We reduced a lot of our ministry to entertainment. Or who can hoop the loudest? Who could run around the pulpit more? Or who got the dresses fancier? And don't deal with the ministry. Jesus healed more people than he preached to. Because there is in the healing your message. They followed Jesus because he healed a woman with the issue of blood. They followed Jesus because Jesus saw a blind man named Bartimaeus. A lot of us would have dismissed him because he was a broke, poor, homeless, a blind man. How you know he was broke, Reverend? Because they say he was begging. But he understood what he was doing. Because he heard that Jesus was passing by. And when Jesus got close enough, he said, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. They kept telling Jesus, let's go, look, we got a schedule, we got people to see. He said it again, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. And when he did it the third time, Jesus stopped and went and healed the blind man. Now, what I get out of that scripture, Bishop Daughtry, is that the blind man told Jesus, if you are who you say you are, you're going to stop and see me. And if you stop and see me, you will confirm who you are. But when we are pastoring and leading in communities with bad health, we cannot be the followers and representatives of Jesus and walk by people that are sick and we not be part of making them well. Thing past hope. Because, you know, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilly is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of faith. Hope for. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And Ida Green writes on our message board, the slave shack brings me to tears. My mom had 11 children and we didn't sleep that cramped. Wow. They lived, ate, worked, and slept in that hut. God be merciful. She's talking about, we did a video on live stream in between while commercials were running, and it showed when in last year I went down and visited the shack, the slave shack. My great-grandfather had been discovered, had been on that plantation. It was just one of several plantations that some archivists had kept, and he kept Alexander Sharpton's plantation. And one of his slaves was a slave Coleman, who was my great-grandfather. And to see that shack, said 50 of them in this little shack. And that's why I can't stop fighting. I can't bow and buckle. There's nothing they can give me till we make this right and equal. I don't know if we can ever make it right, but we can equalize where we are. Let's go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for letting me speak. I'd like to speak. First of all, Donald Trump said some of the people in the military, just were promoted with merit. Now that's not true, first of all, but he got to look at his own administration. The only one I can see qualified to be head of the different departments is Marco Rubio, Secretary of State.
Right.
Everyone else is have no qualifications at all. So he being hypocritical, talking about blacks and other minority groups having qualified for certain positions. And also in Paul's, about the statement he made, that he want to send troops into Illinois and to Chicago. Because first of all, I get the impression when he wants to send them on the streets, just to practice, on people in the city. That brings back memories of the experiments they had at, in Tuskegee, Alabama, and injecting syphilis into black people. And also the experiments they had on different slave women and the people in the Caribbean and Puerto Rico women. That shows his no feelings for certain people, put them as second class or not having any type of human rights. That shows his mentality and some of the racist ideas he has, and he's expounding. That goes to show he don't have any type of respect for all Americans. as human beings. And also concerning his meeting with Netanyahu yesterday and his ultimatum to the Palestinian people and Hamas, to me it's going to be difficult for Hamas to accept a treaty when the conditions haven't changed. In Gaza, when it comes to housing, when it comes to civil rights for the Palestinian people. And then the Palestinian people want to have a right to protect themselves. Like with Donald Trump, the head of the tribunal, that's more like a colonial, United States dictating what's going on there. It's already being dictated by Israel, but then how United States on top of that is dictating how the Palestinians is going to live. I can't see Hamas agreeing to that, even with the threats Donald Trump making, because they made the sacrifices this far. They'd be giving in to the rights and the freedoms that the Palestinians been fighting for ever since Israel has been established. And even though I wouldn't like to see anyone the houses being kept like they are, but to go by it this way, and not providing equilibrium justice for the Palestinian people, I can't see Hamas going along with it, because without any justice, all of this war has been fought for nothing at all. It just be a ongoing problem in the future. There have to be justice there, as well as around the world. Like you're saying, with no justice, no peace, because eventually the same bubble is going to come to the surface again. You're going to have the same gases that are pushing it up. You have to have a whole different chemistry formula, but you have the same racist attitudes of those who want to maintain power. It's going to be no remedy. And also, Mr. Trump, he have to realize that he can't turn, especially the United States, into a military power only. Is based on democracy. Because when he want to militarize this country, he get an impression that he want to conquer other lands. He's trying to set up a military country like it used to be with Sparta, back with Greece,
right,
with the Trojan horse, and so forth. And that's a bad impression, because all they're going to do is just cause the Soviet Union to militarize. It's going to push Iran toward nuclear weapons. It's going to push even Cuba and South American countries to put all their money to military, instead of putting it toward economic justice, what this country should be doing. Instead of putting all the money into the military, put it toward housing, put it toward education, the different programs that he's been cutting. Because war, it's just going to benefit his backers, industry complex, people in districts, who benefit, from the military companies. It's not going to benefit the citizens. They're going to be citizens going to war, losing their lives, mothers losing their children, fathers losing their children, children losing their parents. All because the industry and because Donald Trump ego, trying to live a dream and trying to be like Putin is. But the Soviet Union is based on a whole different history. The United States is not the Soviet Union. It never will be the Soviet Union. Thank you very much. I hear you.
All right, thank you. Let's keep going to the phone. Let me go to Sky in Richmond, Virginia. Sky? Sky, we got to go to break. I'm sorry. We will take the break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old, and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to take...
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all. I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Sharpton, and we're back opening up the lines 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board and we'll read your message at www.nationalactionnetwork.net and go to live stream. I'm going to ask Dominique Sharpton to sit in for about 45 minutes, taking your calls and messages. I'll be back to end the show. I'm asking her to step in now and go to the phones. I have to take this meeting, and one day y'all will know why. It's something big we working on. Dominique Sharpton. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to, I'm giving you Sky in Virginia, Dominique.
This is Scott. Hello?
Scott?
Yes, I'm here.
You're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Are you there, Sky?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Thank you for taking my call. Your father's doing an excellent job. But what I'm calling for, I have 3 points here, and they're kind of based on some of the things I want to talk about. And I know I got to be brief. But the first thing I want to talk about is the meeting that Donald Trump had yesterday with the Prime Minister, I believe, Netanyahu. Mm-hmm. Did I pronounce his name right? I know I did. You know who I'm talking about?
Netanyahu. Mm-hmm.
Well, him. Yes, him. Okay, he made a comment when he spoke on yesterday and thanking Donald Trump for helping them to try to bring the Gaza situation and Israel war under control and get it, to cease the end. And then he also thanked Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. I'm like, what Jared Kushner has to do with this speech he's making? Basically, when I look up Jared Kushner, because I couldn't understand why he was just thanking him out the blue, Jared Kushner, from my understanding, they get ready to try to take Gaza over and to build these luxury condos and everything of that nature. And then there's a genociding going over there. They don't kill so many people, and they try to destroy Gaza. Now I realize the fighting, what all that's about, is about that land. They want to take, Jared Kushner is the one that's really, he's a real estate agent, so he's in charge of that. And I think that's not fair because you're killing off all these, the people in Gaza. You destroy their homes. And, and so Donald Trump is trying to make it seem like it's about the war. It's a property. It's not about a war. And that is not right. And it's pissing me off now that I realize I did a little research about that. Also, I want to talk basically about these missing children. It's a lot of missing children is just missing, vanishing, and I'm not understanding why we are not getting anything from the media as far as television press for it, And then seem like when he created the ICE agency and everything of that nature, it's a lot of children going missing, and nobody's talking about it instead of alarming rate. And so, and then he's talking about the training ground where he's going to disperse the National Guard throughout some more states when I don't feel like our country is in a civil war. We're not in a civil war right now. We are basically been in a good place. But because since Donald Trump has taken over and deporting people in and all these programs, it's just not right. And then I don't understand why the Republican Party do not stand up to this dictator. He's clearly a dictator. So, and then, when I was coming up, we had a conscience. We used to watch movies like Sanders, Roots, Miss Jane Pittman. That gave us a sense of pride. And now you don't hear these kids. I know my own children really don't know about those movies I just named. They I try to get them to watch Roots. Say, oh, Mom, we don't want to know about that stuff. That's in the past. No, the past is the present. And you need to know where you need to be, where you are going. We are heading backwards. So, I have a lot to say, and I know my time
it was
is
mandatory
limited,
in my household. I don't know about, and this is what, this goes to speak to, again, like bringing back the community, strengthening the family, because it's important. It has to start at home, right? So Black history starts within your own walls of your own home with your children, talking about stories, talking about, important facts of history that we should know about, watching the movie Roots, knowing about how we as indigenous people became citizens, or, even the rights that we had to go through, to the fight and the struggle through the movement, and what we had to go through to get our rights, to get, to gain civil rights. It's not only the fabric of our nation and the country that we live in, but it's our history. It's teaching us who we are, where we came from, and that will enable us and strengthen us, on the path forward to know where we're going. And so I think it's very important, and I think that we need to be very critical. That's why it's important for us to keep fighting for our history to remain in schools, for people to keep teachers and educators and administrators and institutions to keep these history lessons prevalent in the curriculum is very important. And I feel like them trying to eradicate that, right, from the curriculum, eradicate that from these institutions that we go to learn, right, is because they are trying to unravel that consciousness. And the more they can keep us unraveling, and the more they can keep us from not knowing and from being, complacent, they can continue to have power over us. And so I feel like, there are strategies that are placed to displace us, to continue to really emphasize on the fact that we are a threat. We are a threat to society because we are dominant in terms of our abilities, in terms of our talents, in terms of our brains and our minds. And so I think that we have to continue to raise the awareness, especially to our young people, especially to the next generation. We have to do our due diligence in keeping them informed. And that is by continuing the lessons and knowing our history and teaching our history and continuing to tell those stories is very important. I can't even sit down in a room with my dad without hearing a history lesson. And I used to be like, oh my goodness, Dad, another one, another lesson. But honestly speaking, like, I appreciate that. I appreciate my parents, taking the time to teach me, to talk to me about what they know, what they learned, what they heard, and to have those conversations, because it is very important to the consciousness of our people and to acknowledge the fact of where we're going in our future to know these things. So thank you so much for your call.
We have, okay.
No, go ahead. We're going to get to we got to talk about the missing children too. But I do have some more callers on the line. I do want to get some more callers on the line, Sky. So thank you so much for your call. I know we have a lot of people that are holding on, want to chime into the conversation. So let's let them do that. Let's go to Woody. Woody's listening to us from Philadelphia on WURD. You're keeping.
We just lost Woody, man.
We lost Woody. But I will say, you are right, Sky. sky in terms of the consciousness and awareness of what's happening with our children, and whether it be what's going on with ICE and immigration, what's going on with our young people being swept into the criminal justice system, with the overpopulating the jails in many various areas in the country and beyond. If it's, disservicing them in the education system in terms of how impoverished our school districts are, they can't get adequate resources to do things, to teach our children adequately. And so there's a myriad of different things, but I think you're speaking specifically to the fact that we are, as a society, not being informed properly on what's happening with how children are just missing, like you said, just coming up missing all over the place. What's happening to them, who's tracking them, who cares about them, right? And why the larger community is not getting the information. And I feel like it's a media strategy, right? It's like, whatever is going on, and this is with anything. That's why it's very critical for us to have these conversations, to keep Black radio alive, and to keep talking about what's truth and what's not. And so I think that we need to continue to raise that bar of excellence, of accountability, for not only media outlets, but also for those who are governing us. It's very important. We're going to take a break soon, but I see the message board is lit up, and I see that people are calling in to join in on the conversation because it's hot on Keeping It Real. And as always, you can join the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797. We are built to survive, Derek K said, and I agree with that. We are built to survive. We are strong people. We've been strong for generations. We were strong when they took us from Africa. We were strong building civilizations and pyramids and building the infrastructure of the education system, and how we as brilliant people teach each other and teach our children and teach the philosophy of life and everything that goes on, from science to education to healthcare to anything that we put our minds to doing, we have excelled in. And so I do believe that we can continue, right, being the strong people that we know we are. And in this moment, it takes all of us to do that. And so I just feel that it always lifts my spirits to come on Keeping It Real and to talk with the people, because it just brings me back to the realization that we are in the action. We are involved, and there are so many of us that care, that are committed to this fight, and that know what time it is. And it's time to get involved, and it's time to stay active. We're going to take this quick break. I see the lit chat room. Okay, y'all giving me emojis now. All right, Ladybug77, I see you. And it's fire, as she said. Thank you so much. We're going to take that break, though. It's Dominique Sharpton. I'm sitting in for the Rev just for a few moments, taking your calls across the country on Keeping It Real. You can join us 1-877-532-5797, and we'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. Now, each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to take...
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special, special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, But I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Who never seen the fact that we got the right to vote because they became strange fruit. I have these tears in my eyes today, Reverend.
Cause every generation of Islam.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, where injustice goes, he follows.
30 years ago, Yusuf Hawkins was the young 16-year-old brother killed for being in a white neighborhood in Brooklyn. I got stabbed leading one of those marches.
Keeping it real with America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You're laughing.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm Dominique Sharpton. I'm Reverend Sharpton's eldest daughter, sitting in for the Rev just for a few more segments as we're taking your calls all across the country today on Keeping It Real. You can join in on the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can join us on the message board as you are watching us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. And we'll be joined momentarily, as we are every Tuesday, by the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron Jr. Really looking forward to that conversation. But we've been talking about a lot today, as we know we got a lot to do, but it's a lot going on. They're talking about a government shutdown. Want to really emphasize exactly, how that works. And I know a lot of people, again, this is about informing and also talking about what we're going to do, but we need to know how things actually work. And if we're going to talk about strategy and taking action and what do we do in this moment, we have to know exactly what we're dealing with. And I think that especially for young people, I'm a millennial, so I'm always looking at, well, not only what's the information, but what's in it for me? How am I affected by this? Why do I need to pay attention to this? And how does it affect my livelihood? And so what a government shutdown actually does and how this works. A government shutdown begins, of course, if Congress fails to pass a funding bill, forcing many federal offices, national parks, museums to actually close. Most federal employees are furloughed without pay, though essential workers like active duty troops and law enforcement and air traffic controllers must continue working without pay until the shutdown ends. And we've already seen an influx of what's been happening with, federal workers on that level. But Social Security, Medicare, and also the Postal Office remain largely unaffected. The impact on courts and contractors and services. Federal courts can actually function briefly on reserves, but can actually slow down if the shutdown drags on, affecting cases tied to the Trump administration policies. Federal contractors are also hit hard because they don't receive guaranteed back pay. And those tied directly to the government operations may be forced to stop working or continue unpaid. So there is definitely a benefit if we're looking at, what's going on. Trump meets with Netanyahu. There's a government shutdown pending. They're talking about, the federal government coming in to intervene on local policies. All of these things that are adding up. And Sister Sky before the break was talking about the fact that there is some personal gain, there's personal business that's happening that is being rejuvenated, and, really in line to line the pockets of the wealth and to continue to disengage and disenfranchise and displace those that are most vulnerable. And so as activists, as those who are literally trying to elevate the voice and keep the voice strong, because the resistance is also important to see. The resistance is also important to elevate and to keep visible, because we can't just have a one-track story. We have to know, well, what were you doing when they were trying to shut down the government? What were you doing when they were talking about laying off hundreds of federal employees? What were you doing when they were talking about, the fact that your next door neighbor or your neighbor down the street can be displaced because of a policy or because of a decision where people felt like they were more important than your quality of life? And so I think that we have to really lay it out on the table. I also feel like we not only need to have these conversations, but we need to continue to talk about and strategize what we're going to do in this moment. And so I'm looking to the Keeping It Real audience. I'm looking to the message board. I'm looking to anybody who feels, that the struggle is not only real, but the struggle is valid to our progress. The struggle is valid in our moment to make progress. We can't continue to just, be complacent about issues. We can't continue to just talk about things or hear about things. We got to be involved in changing the tide here. And so y'all on Keeping It Real, help me out here. Let's talk about it. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Let's go to Janet listening to us in Baltimore on WOLB. Janet, you're Keeping It Real. Good afternoon.
Hey, hello, how are you? And I guess
right.
This is a good time for me to comment. For the past couple of days, I've heard people who, I guess, call themselves influencers or, I don't know, podcast people or whatever, talking about the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in this situation, especially knowing that you're joining
what?
somebody who they're talking about for Democrats. You can't beat them, join them. And that's how idiotic it is, because you've already seen, Trump has already demonstrated time and time again, doesn't matter what he says, he's going to do nothing. He can tell you, oh, yeah, I'm going to release the money. I'm going to give people money so they can fight Russia. And he don't do it. Somebody else, some third person puts the order in the trash can. You know, he is not a man of his word. He's probably a very sick man, and they are doing their best to cover it up because some of the stuff that he says is nobody in their healthy mind would say or think or talk the way he does. And I'm just sick of these people, these young people, and they're mostly young people saying this, join him. For what? Joining him, voting with them is not going to get you nothing. You've already done that and you got nothing. And if you don't understand that you have to fight, yeah, you might lose, but if you don't fight, you get nothing. If you join him, you absolutely get nothing. It's not just writing him a blank check, it's giving him the right in his mind and everybody else's mind that everything he's done is on point and correct and needed to be done. I mean, how if you don't want to fight, say you don't want to fight. You scared, say you scared. But don't give in and want me to give in with you.
I don't know if y'all heard of the story of the boogeyman, but I used to be afraid of the boogeyman when I was a child. I don't know how many people want to admit the same thing. But once I found out that the boogeyman don't exist and it was just, you know, in my mind, it was just an illusion. And it was just a strategy, a tactic to get me scared. I think that we are being scared, and if we don't confront the boogeyman and and open that door and realize, okay, we are just as strong as whatever is trying to come at us. We can combat that. Then we're gonna continue being in the dark and living in the dark in fear. And fear is a big controller. Fear is a dominant controller, and a lot of people are living in fear. And I'm not only talking about people like you and me. I'm talking about people who are sitting in high positions in this country, living in fear. Fear that if I say something, fear that if I just step out too far, they're coming for me. How many of us are going to be willing to stand against the fear?
I hear you, and I hear you, because if it's meant for you to have, you would have it. Being quiet and letting him do what he wants is going to get you absolutely nothing. And
I'm not saying, let's have the revolution, but I'm saying like we have to get over that complacency of fear in this moment. Yeah. And I think I'm seeing it, and I have never seen like anything like this before. I'm talking about people that I thought were down for the cause, down for the people, scared, literally living in fear. Yeah. And that's what we're dealing with. Yeah. And at what point, are we going to say, okay, you know what? We see the strategy here. We see what's happening to us. Yes, we may not can get the resources the way we want, or we may not get, the policies the way we want, but we are resilient people. We can stand firm against anything. We've lived through generations of oppression. And so we get to this moment, and now we talking about we scared, we backing up because it affects our money, it affects our lives, it affects, we scared. So I'm like, no, what's the strategy to fight back? What's the strategy of action to combat this? Help me out, sister. Well, help me out, my message board. Help me out, people. But no, I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And thank you so much for your call. I think that Brother Rodney Jones is saying, I don't understand why when one of these Caucasian men comments mass murder, they allow Trump to control the narrative. It was the radical left. I'm sorry, where's the comeback? I don't hear it or see it. And I think you're right about that as well. I think that controlling the media is another thing that we talk about all the time, and thankful to having outlets like Keeping It Real and having our outlets where we can speak truth to power is important. But I also feel like, again, who are we talking to? Who are we trying to impress here? Because I'm no longer seeing where we are with this. So we're going to take this break, though. Rev is coming back, too. Dominique Sharpton, I'm sitting in for the Rev just for another segment, taking your calls, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real, y'all, with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about that.
It's about teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, you know, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be is a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, well, to them, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is dying.
Okay, I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying, you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say it.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid, you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people, but they can get educated, they can go to school, they can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today, it's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm going to tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots died for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as it land, and make it, and late at night on a stormy day? You couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly, you can. Since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example. Because before you get the education, you need motivation.
I'm Dominique Sharpton, sitting in for the Rev. Just a few more moments, taking your calls across the country. You can join in on the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797. And I'm sorry about this. I didn't know that Reverend Walron was on and had joined us, but the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron Jr. Is on and has joined us as he does every single Tuesday. Reverend Walron, good afternoon. How are you? I'm so sorry. I did not know you were on. I can't hear Reverend Walron. I hear you now.
Oh, yeah. I said no worries. I was listening to the conversation. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Excellent.
So we were talking, President Donald Trump has met with Netanyahu, and they're talking about, I mean, I don't even know how you want to assess this. What's your assessment on the meeting? And as we're talking in light of, they're threatening a government shutdown and threatening, more federal government, policies to take over local agencies, and all that's going on. People are talking about we're heading to another war, a civil war, in that matter. What do you feel about all this in light of everything that's going on, Reverend Walron?
Well, one thing I heard you talking about the media, I think goes hand in hand with your question. I think we're in a moment right now where media outlets, whether they be legacy media or even the social media, is driven by sensationalism and negative attention. And so I think we have to be mindful of that. I think we often wonder, well, why don't certain outlets say this, and why don't they speak truth to this, and why don't they talk about this? It's because media outlets right now have become nothing more than tabloidish, and which means it's driven by sensationalism. And then culturally, through social media, we're drawn to sensationalism. That's why so many negative headlines and then negative clickbait is what draws us. We're drawn to that, and many of our media outlets are drawn to that because ratings transfer into advertisement, advertisers turn into money. So I think we have to be mindful of that. So sometimes we have an expectation of media outlets that's not rooted in their reality, which is about money. So I think we got to be mindful of that. And secondly, I think that when it comes to Donald Trump, you can't really pay attention to what he says. You have to pay attention to what he actually does. And then even when he does it, you have to ask yourself, is this real? How long will it last? Because what doesn't get talked about a lot is how many times since he's been in office, the courts have rejected some of his attempts.
That's right.
Or made rulings that's against some of the desires he wants. We're so caught up in what he says, we don't always realize that many of the things he says, one, are not constitutional, and two, doesn't pass the muster with courts. So I think I'm at a point now where I've heard enough of Donald Trump from his first run at this as president, his first term, and now to this. I have to watch what is being done, because what I realize is that Donald Trump also understands how so much of the media is driven by his proclamations, not by his actions, and that his proclamations can change the media focus on a dime. And so I think, and what happens, I heard you talking about, people, sometimes it's about anxiety, wondering about these different things that are happening. Is there going to be a war? What's going to happen? I think we have to be mindful, because we can't allow what he says to create a sense of anxiety or consternation. We have to actually look at what is executable and then what is legal to temper back. Now, if that doesn't work, then the third level is to say, wait a minute, this is not the first time that as African Americans in this country, we faced a narcissistic, racist, misogynist president. So, and we've endured, and whether we realize it or not, because I think sometimes we look at the current cultural moment and say, oh, this is horrendous. But we have seen worse as a people in this country from people who are even more overt in their racism than Donald Trump. And so, there's this famous line from the philosopher Socrates. And Socrates said that all learning is remembering. And so sometimes in this moment, we have to remember what we've experienced, remember what our ancestors endured, survived through, and then thrived. Remember those things, because it serves as a point of, I think, strength and also galvanization around what is possible right now.
That's right. That's right. Janet wants to chime in. Janet's listening to us from Baltimore, Maryland. Janet, you're keeping it real. Did we go to Janet already?
Like she hung up.
All right. Well, Art's listening in Buffalo. Art, are you there? Good afternoon, Art.
We lost Art too.
David from Washington, D.C., are you there? Is David there? All right, y'all got to help me with this. Are you keeping it real? You're on. All right. All right. Woody came back. Did Woody come back from Philly? Woody, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, Woody.
Yes, ma'am. How are you? I'm so sorry I missed you the first time. The phone just cut off. I don't know what happened. But
Yeah, I came to you. I knew who I was coming to. I knew who I was talking to, but I didn't hear you talking back. Good afternoon. I'm glad you called back. Thank you.
I'm happy I have you on because I'm so proud, number one, of Reverend Sharpton, and so proud of you to be a team worker. You know, not everybody can be a team worker, but if I ever saw one, you definitely are one.
Oh, thanks.
And by being one, you will be able to remember things, put it in your head, and become a leader first of yourself. Now, once you understand 3 and 1 are we when all three agree, happy are we when all three disagree, then you, the individual, become divided. Once you understand that, then you understand that we all have faults, and we have to kind of, as the old folks say, pull yourself together, pull yourself together. They always said that, and I couldn't understand where they were coming from, but now, body, mind, and spirit, 3 and 1 are we. I understand now that I have to pull myself together. But again, congratulating you to come right in with the right rhythm and to keep the show going just the way it's supposed to. Now, Reverend Warren, I had a question for you as well. And Reverend Sharpton was talking about his 3 favorite people, Muhammad Ali, James Brown, and Michael Jackson, and how great they were. What do you think they all have in common?
Muhammad Ali, James Brown, and Michael Jackson. Well, other than them being all in some way African American public figures at a cultural moment when, in many ways, who we are as a people is still not fully respected or honored, but because of their celebrity, on some levels, they were able to transcend some things. I think when you think about Muhammad Ali and all 3 of them, there was a deep commitment to our people. People don't always think about that with Michael Jackson, but that's because they look at the public persona of Michael Jackson. But beyond who he was as an entertainer, Michael was, in his actions, in his philanthropy, was deeply committed to black people. But in terms of Mr. Brown and Muhammad Ali, there was an abiding commitment, 1, to the things they believed in, 2, to our people, and 3, to empowering our people. So I think that becomes critically important in this moment, because I think you can have a deep and abiding love for black people, but to manifest that in your actions and to demonstrate that through your commitment, I think is something profound.
Their greatness was something that couldn't be questioned, regardless of what complexion they may be. And I think the world knew that. This is what I call the mystique of understanding the nature of things. We're always learning, and we will never stop, because you never learn as much as you already know. So the process of learning, if you just pay attention, you will be surprised on a daily basis what you will learn. So when I make it keep it simple, stupid, I'll say that all 3 of those guys, if I had to compare all of them, and I go back to childhood again and say to myself, keep it simple, stupid, all 3 of them were 3 of the greatest dancers on the planet. So that's what they were to me. And
they spoke they stood up through all of that in their professional. They were knocked down to the ground. I'm talking about, right. And it's like and they still proclaimed and still stood strong, and we had to call them the greatest. We had to acknowledge them as the greatest.
They're all the greatest, and tell Dr. Sharpton that I said he picked 3 wonderful people that made me think. And the wonderful part about it, in this barbershop, I had a chance to cut Muhammad Ali's hair and Michael Jackson's hair as well. So having a conversation with the brother right before he did that thing to his nose and his face, I got him in the chair and he kept looking in the mirror and he says, I don't like my skin. My nose is too wide. And he's talking like that, looking in the mirror, because when you sit in a barber's chair, you're facing yourself. But to hear him talking to himself like that while he's getting his hair cut, and once I finished him, to do his hair, I said, now, don't you look different now? Well, fitting the hair to the facial structure is the key. So he was happy, and please go online, Barbershop Talk, HFD, like HarryFrankDavid.org, and you'll see a lot of those pictures. He was fascinated over my old car. I have a 1947 Cadillac that used to belong to my grandfather.
You sound like a young man there, Brother Woody. I can't believe you cut Michael Jackson's hair for real.
Yes, ma'am. Go online, check it out now. Barbershop Talk, HFD, like HarryFrankDavid.org.
Thank you so much for your call. I hear that music, so we're going to take a break. Reverend Walron, I'm sitting in the hot seat. Rev is joining us back, but we're taking your calls, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be right back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about his love message. As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee, sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars, focus on the journey. Michael rose to the top. He outsang his cynics. He outdanced his doubters. He outperformed the pessimists. Every time he got knocked down, he got back up. Every time you counted him out, he came back in. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. I want to say to Mrs. Jackson and Joe Jackson, his sisters and brothers, we thank you for giving us someone that taught us love, someone that taught us hope. We want to thank you because we know it was your dream too. And we know that your heart is broken. I know you have some comfort from the letter from the President of the United States and Nelson Mandela, but this was your child. This was your brother. This was your cousin. Nothing will fill your heart's loss. But I hope the love that people are showing will make you know he didn't live in vain. And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with, but he dealt with it. He dealt with it anyway. He dealt with it for us. So some came today, Mrs. Jackson, to say goodbye to Michael. I came to say thank you. Thank you because you never stopped. Thank you because you never gave up. Thank you because you never gave out. Thank you because you tore down our divisions. Thank you because you eradicated barriers. Thank you because you gave us hope. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. For 90 days, they're going to do a study of what companies have pulled out of DI and what companies have a small margin of profit. And we in 90 days are going to announce the 2 companies that we're going after. And we're going to ask everybody in this country, black, white, brown, gay, straight, woman, trans, don't buy where you are not respected. Donald Trump can't make us buy your stuff. The Senate can't make us buy your stuff. In the name of Dr. King, we're going to do what Dr. King did. Trump tweeted the other week, I'm a con man. Don't call me the coin man. I'm going to stop the coins from dropping in the wrong places.
You're live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm back, y'all. Dominique Sharpton sitting in for the Rev with Reverend Michael Warron. taking your calls. We're going back to the phones. Rev is still in this meeting, y'all. I know he's going to be telling us a lot that's going on. He's got a lot that's brewing and want to update us. So when he comes back, he will do that. But we're going back to the phones. I see some folks holding on. Reverend Walron. I want to talk to Percy Johnson, listening to us from Detroit. Percy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good afternoon,
and I'm
sir.
really thank you for taking my call. And I want to point out the real truth with this government shutdown, that our people need to truly understand what's happening here. So there's all that to keep the government open.
Mm-hmm.
We need 218 votes out of the House,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the Senate, we need 51 votes
Mm-hmm.
to keep the government open. Now the Republicans have the votes. They
Mm-hmm.
have the majority in the House.
Mm-hmm.
They have 220
Mm-hmm.
House reps, and in the Senate they have 54
Mm-hmm.
senators. So they don't need the Democrats
Mm-hmm.
to pass to keep the government open. So we have to understand how they are lying to the American people, saying that the Democrats are causing them to shut it down because they are in the majority. The Democrats are in the minority. So the Republicans have the majority votes to keep the government open. But they are passing something that all the Republicans are not in support of, but that's because of what they want to do to the harm to what they want to do to the American people, that the other senators are not supporting it. And so now we have a chance as Democrats, if they want our vote, we're saying, okay, in order to get our vote, you got to change the bill of what you're doing now, because the bill you want to pass now is going to harm a lot of our residents and our families in our nation. Am I right or wrong?
Mm-hmm. Reverend Walron?
Yeah, I think what the caller points in is right. I think we have to pay attention. What I realized, Dominique, in this moment is that much of what comes from the right that causes some level of consternation, and I want to say this, and I hope that people understand, is often based on ignorance on our part. Right? So what the caller just pointed out is reality, the votes that the Republicans have in the House and the Senate. So when they say things like, well, the Democrats, that's creating a narrative that is not steeped in the reality in terms of the numbers that are had by Republicans in the Senate and the Congress. And what I realize is that a lot of false narratives prevail when those who hear the false narratives live in a place of lack of knowledge or ignorance. And because if you understand certain things and know the reality and the truth about certain things, I don't think we would get as anxious as we are. But remember, false narratives of the right only thrive because of lack of knowledge on the left by people who claim to be on the left. And I think we have to remember that.
Dominique,
I'm here.
Dominique, it's kind of like that you learned as you growing up that there's no boogeyman. Once you found out that there's a boogeyman is not in that closet, that's just something in your head that you were scared of that's not even really there that can harm you. The harm that we have right now is not being more civically knowledgeable of how this system works and making sure that we're putting people in office that's going to bring home the support that we should have, so our families, and all we want for our family is the opportunity to be able to raise a family in a safe environment and have the needs of having strong schools, strong environment, and good health, and opportunities to be in, take care of our families and our loved ones. And this is basically the platform of what the Democrat Party is. But the platform of the Republican Party is to put out this lie that, we're going to cut taxes, but yet you're going to cut jobs so you don't have a high tax rate. If you give me a good paying job, I can pay my taxes. But the problem is I need a good paying job to be able to take care of my family and my loved ones. But how are you going to put me in debt where I can't even go to a hospital or have good health care, and you putting policies like that in place.
Or if you're raising the taxes, or if you're cutting the job force, cutting jobs in the job force, and if you're cutting programs and institutions. So, at the end of the day, Americans don't even qualify for the top paying positions. I mean, we got a lot going on here across the board if you want to talk about it, right? So I think you're spot on with your point, but I also feel like in the midst of all that, Reverend Walron, I think that the resistance is also very strong to vocalize in this moment. The resistance is also very important to not only notarize, but to be a part of in some capacity in some things. So go ahead.
And Dominique, and I'm gonna get off. And the part which I'm really frustrated with is with our media that's supposed to really be the ones who are there to ask questions and to point out to people what's going on. The way that they don't give the narrative of explaining what I just said, and really saying that the Republicans can really keep the government open.
Right,
they have the votes to keep the government open, and they can keep it open.
Right.
They have the votes, but they keep trying to say, what are the Democrats going to do? No, the Democrats are finally taking a stand to, no, we're not going to go along with these policies that you're going to put in place that's going to harm our people. You guys got to vote. Go ahead and vote for this garbage bill that you're trying to pass, and we'll wait next election time, and the people will see how what you're doing is harming them, and we'll win the next election by having the majority. We'll have the majority where we can put policies back in place that's going to help take care of our family and our loved ones.
That's right. And so we've got to keep pushing for that. And I think that you're right about that.
And let's stay encouraged. And everyone realize that you have power by voting and putting the right people in office that's going to bring home the bacon.
Bring home the bacon.
So,
thank you, Percy Johnson.
Dominique,
yes, sir.
Here's my thing, is that we are capable of walking and chewing gum at the same time. I think the Democratic leadership can put forth a resistance. But, for example, it's 2025, right? We all know that midterms are next year. But yet what often happens is we wait until a few months before the midterms to talk about it. Now's the time to begin to empower people with the right information and begin to make sure we turn out the vote. Because all this will be moved again if we don't come out and vote in the midterms.
That's right.
There's enough information, enough that we know, enough that we see, enough that we've heard. And we have to be educating people. People may not feel the full weight or pinch of this big, beautiful bill, but it was strategic. It won't go into effect till after the midterms. I don't hear enough people talking about that. So people may say, well, things are relatively the same because of President Trump now, but they won't be the same after the midterms. And I think we have to be vigilant in informing people that after the midterms, with these cuts that kick in, a lot of people, black, white, Latino, no matter who you are, if you're poor in this country, you're going to suffer. And we need to talk about that now so the people who will suffer can feel an investment in moving forward and voting and changing the makeup of the House and changing the makeup of the Senate. I think it's what we have to do at this point, that we have to be consistent and we have to be proactive in the narrative. The Democrats and many people on the left have been on their heels since the president came in office. We have a chance to be proactive, and we can do that by putting the right information out there so people can understand what's happening.
That's right.
Hold on. Keeping it real. I made it back to close the show. Let me thank Dominique and Reverend Michael Walron for sitting in for me. And I will be on the whole show tomorrow. So let me thank everyone for listening and calling in. You that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody. Reverend Al told you personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Talk to you tomorrow.